Hello good people, this is Fisher12 back with another exciting video for you guys today as always, and WWE just completed their latest pay-per-view, so you know what time it is. Let's talk Battleground. So Battleground taking place on the 23rd of July 2017 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. On the kickoff show we had Dillinger versus Aiden English. And here I called that Dillinger, or predicted that Dillinger was going to win, and he did not. Aiden English did. I thought the match itself was pretty solid. It makes sense why Aiden English got the win. I had mentioned this in my video that they wanted to build up his new gimmick, get him over, get people acquainted with that, so they might give him the win. The only thing that sort of bothered me is that Dillinger is just so over. Like, the fans look for every opportunity to chant 10, and instead of giving the fans what they want, they opt to, like, bury Dillinger and have him constantly lose. And I could go on a rant about this, but when you have a babyface who's over and you don't need to do anything to get him over, that is something you should be building off of, not saying to yourself, oh, it's okay if we bury him because he's over anyway. And I really didn't get Aiden English's gimmick until he started acting stressed out and frustrated because he couldn't pin Dillinger. And then it sort of became clear to me that he's almost sort of like this Mozart or Beethoven who's so in love with his work and his craft that everything else just bothers him immensely. So I am excited to see where they take Aiden English's character in the next coming weeks. Then we had the actual show, and just to note, there was no pyro at the start of the pay-per-view. And I know Road Dogg has gone on Twitter and said that pyro doesn't make a show, but the whole idea is that WWE is supposed to be this larger-than-life, this big, great experience, a huge event, everything. You know, I know it's not WrestleMania, but a little pyro does go a long way, especially at the start of a pay-per-view. It's like after they do that little segue, or they do the little segment, the intro, whatever you want to call it, and then all of a sudden they just cut to the announcers talking. It's like, oh, did we start the show? It would have been nice. You know, everyone's just so used to seeing this big pyro introduction. You know, I understand if you're trying to cut costs and you want to take it away from entrances and whatnot, and other types of segments, but for the start of a pay-per-view, even if you don't want to have it on the TV shows, at the start of the pay-per-view, there should be some pyro going off. But the first match was for the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. We had the New Day versus the Usos, with the New Day picking up the win and becoming the new Tag Team Champions. I thought this was a pretty decent match. A lot of good false finishes. There were times where you thought that the match was going to end, and it seemed believable that the match could end, and then it didn't, and that really got the crowd going. This was a really good match to start off the show with. One thing that did stick out to me, and both teams are guilty of this, when you tag in or you tag out, you have 5 seconds to either get in the ring or get out of the ring, depending on what you're doing. You shouldn't be able to tag in secretly and then just hang out on the apron for 10 seconds while the legal guy and the non-legal guy continue to fight in the ring. Like, it's okay if you tag in and both people are in the ring and you're trying to do a move to the other person. That's fine if that takes more than 5 seconds. But if you're tagging in and you're just trying to play possum now, you get 5 seconds. You don't get to break the rules as part of your strategy. That's the type of stuff that bothers me. That's the type of stuff that sticks out to me. And it did here. That's like the Usos' main move, is to play possum, is to slyly tag in, wait on the apron, not do anything, and then jump in well after 5 seconds and get the surprise of the jump. Then we had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Baron Corbin. I thought this was an okay match. Every time I watch a Shinsuke Nakamura match, I'm expecting to see something special and spectacular, and every time it ends up just being like a pretty average, honestly in most cases, a lackluster match. And it's, in my mind, I think they're ruining Shinsuke Nakamura and the appeal he has by trying to bring him down to the level of everyone else. You know, he should be destroying Dolph Ziggler and Baron Corbin. He shouldn't be having like 10, 15-minute matches with them. And something else, too, that I'm questioning, they didn't refer to him once as the King of Strong Style. They only referred to him as the Artist. And I wonder if that is intentional or not. I wonder if they can't use the King of Strong Style nickname if New Japan Wrestling has some sort of copyright on that. because in my opinion, that is what you should be advertising for Shinsuke Nakamura, not that he's a rock star or an artist or anything like that, because Aiden English is the artist now, you know, and Chris Jericho is the rock star. Shinsuke Nakamura is the king of strong style, and I hope the reason is a legal issue, because if they're just not using that nickname just because they don't think it's that good, then I think they're just mistaken. And I really didn't get the finish. I didn't get why Baron Corbin, after so long, decided to go for a low blow, leave the ring, but then come back to beat up Shinsuke. In my mind, the way that should go down is you give Shinsuke the low blow, and then you just stay in the ring to beat him up. You don't exit the ring and then decide, like, oh, you know what? I should give him a bigger beating, and then go back into the ring and then beat him up. That just didn't make sense to me from a storytelling perspective. Next, we had the Fatal 5-Way Elimination match to determine the #1 contender for the SmackDown Women's Championship. This was Charlotte versus Becky Lynch versus Natalya versus Tamina versus Lana. And although I predicted Charlotte to win, I think a lot of people predicted Charlotte to win. Natalya ended up winning, and I did say too in my predictions video that if it wasn't going to be Charlotte, it was going to be Natalya, because the reason why Natalya would win is to set up a face versus heel booking at SummerSlam. And what they want to do, this is another prediction, because Carmella is a heel and she has the women's Money in the Bank, she has to take the title off of a face. She can't take the title off of a heel, because no one would care. No one would care if a heel beat another heel for the title. You'd only care and be upset if your giant face character won and then the cash-in happened. So what I think they're going to do is I think they're going to have Natalya beat Naomi to put the title on a heel, to then set up either Charlotte or Becky taking the title off of Natalya, and then Carmella will cash in. Now, the match itself was just okay. There were a couple things that stood out to me as sort of like confusing storytelling moments. Lana at one point broke up a sharpshooter that I think it was Natalya had on Becky Lynch. I forget who it was, but Lana breaks up Natalya's sharpshooter, and it's like, this is an elimination match. Why wouldn't you let that person get the tap out? Later in the match, Tamina broke up a disarm her that was being put on Lana, and that makes sense because Tamina's sort of defending Lana, being her bodyguard, but it makes absolutely no sense for Lana to prevent people from getting eliminated. And I thought Charlotte's deadlift powerbomb was totally awesome. I don't know if she was truly struggling or just trying to make it look like she was struggling, but in any case, that spot was just awesome. What spot wasn't awesome was the finish. Charlotte bounces her head, or gets her head bounced off the bottom turnbuckle, and then falls to a roll-up. How many times have people bounced their head off a turnbuckle and then have been completely okay? Why is that a move that puts people away? And that's like the low blow falling onto the top rope. It's like, why do these non-wrestling finishing moves, these sort of accidental moves, put away people? I think it's bad storytelling, because now I would be led to believe that anytime someone's head bounces off a turnbuckle, they can be covered and they can lose a match. And I don't think that's what you want me to think. Not to mention, too, it wasn't as if the turnbuckle was uncovered, like her head hit the middle. This was a covered turnbuckle. So it's supposed to be, in storytelling, in kayfabe, that's supposed to be soft. It's supposed to be okay to hit. But now I guess we're being told that it can put people away. People at the level of Charlotte Flair. It wasn't like it put Lana away or something. It put away Charlotte Flair. It would have made more sense if Natalya had put her feet up on the rope, because then you got the leverage thing going, and then it's a heel pin. This was just, oopsie, I hit my head, and I didn't kick out in time. Like, I just don't get what they're trying to tell with this finish. And speaking of confusing finishes, the next match was for the United States Championship, which was AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens. I predicted AJ Styles to win. I thought it didn't make sense for him to have the title for only 2 weeks, for him to bring back the US Open Challenge, make a big decree about it, and then to have it not happen, just like Kevin Owens did. When Kevin Owens became the face of America, he came out and he said, I'm going to bring back the US Open Challenge. Who wants to fight? It happened once. AJ Styles came out, and then AJ Styles ended up taking the title, not in that match, but later. He comes out the next week and goes, okay, I'm actually going to hold the US Open Challenge title, whatever. John Cena comes out, they tease it, it doesn't end up happening, and now the title's off AJ Styles. Why, Totally separate from the match. Why are you talking about bringing back the US Open Challenge if you never have it? If you never have it, why do you make it a thing that you're bringing back? And this is a reoccurring theme, I feel like, in WWE, where, like, one week they announce something, and then the next week they're like, oh, you know what? I actually wish that we didn't announce it, so let's act like that didn't happen. Like, more times than not, they've acted like the Revival attacking the Hardys was their big return. And it wasn't their big return. They returned during the Who Attacked Cass and Enzo storyline. That was their big return. And it was clear that WWE was like, oh, you know what? This was probably a really lame return for the Revival. Let's act like it didn't happen and make it a big announcement when they come and attack the Hardys and act like that was their return. And hopefully the fans forgot. Now, what I really wanted to say about this match was, like, did something go wrong with the finish? I don't understand it. In my opinion, this was a clean win by Kevin Owens. AJ Styles had him in a submission, and Kevin Owens rolled him onto his back and got the 3 count. That was it. There was no controversy or holding of the ropes or tights or a tap out at the same time as the pin. There was none of that. As far as I'm concerned, this was a clean win for Kevin Owens over AJ Styles. And the crowd was absolutely dead. They weren't even booing. They weren't even upset that Kevin Owens. They were completely dead. They were silent. There was no reaction. They were just like, wow, I can't believe that I've paid this money to see this happen. And then the only thing that stuck out to me about the match itself is at one point, AJ Styles is going for the Styles Clash, and Kevin Owens picks him up and throws AJ at the ref, and it knocks the ref down. While the ref is knocked down and coming to, at no point does anything devious or illegal happen in the match. There's no low blows. There's no chair shots. There's nothing. The ref got knocked down for no reason. It didn't add to the story. It didn't allow Kevin Owens to do something, like I said, devious or malicious or anything like that. He just got knocked down. They wrestled Kevin Owens and AJ Styles wrestled for a couple minutes, and then the ref came through and got the pin. I don't understand what the purpose of that was, and I don't understand what the purpose of the pin was, except to set up a rematch on SmackDown so they can get better numbers on SmackDown. That's the only reason I could think of for why they would do this finish. Then we had the flag match, John Cena versus Rusev, United States versus Bulgaria, and in no surprising fashion whatsoever, I called this one. I said it would be impossible for John Cena to lose based on his promo. And sure enough, John Cena won. One thing that was funny is during Rusev's entrance, they cut to the foreign announce team and had them all, like, talk about the pay-per-view, and I'm pretty sure they forgot to do that earlier in the pay-per-view, because usually they do that during, like, the first or second match, or the second segment, rather. This time, they waited till pretty much the show was over. They waited till the third to last match to announce the foreign announce teams. And I thought this match was just predictable from start to finish, everything in between, the walking up the ramp with the flag and getting stopped and setting up the tables and then not going through them, and then eventually Rusev going through them and John Cena stopping Rusev at the very last second from putting the flag in. Just all of it super predictable. One thing that I thought was weird is that there was not one USA chant the entire match, and I think that just goes to show that people, I don't think they really care for this United States versus some other country gimmick or feud or whatnot. You know, it's not the 1980s anymore. WWE's audience expands beyond the United States. By having a United States versus any, country, you are limiting the amount of audience that is going to care about this match. And I really think that New Japan's G1 is ruining me, because this was supposed to be a good match. They thought John Cena versus Rusev, this was supposed to be, the match of the night, the match to see. And I have watched all 4 nights or 4 days of the G1 climax, and every match that I've seen in the G1 was far superior to this John Cena Rusev match. Actually, I'd go so far to say every match I've seen in the G1 climax has been better than every match on this pay-per-view. But it was really when I was watching this match that I was just telling myself, I was like, you know what? I am not enjoying this match. I am bored of this match. I really wish I was watching another G1 match, because that would be way more exciting for me as a viewer than what I'm seeing right now, Rusev versus John Cena. And next up, we had what was supposed to be the conclusion to the Fashion Files. Spoiler alert, it was not. They teased a bad conclusion with the Ascension. The Ascension walked in, they were like, yep, it was us because we felt like it. And then Fandango and Tyler Breeze and Fandango, they were like, no, you know what? It wasn't you. It couldn't have been you. You had tickets to see Eddie Money. And then they got beaten up. And we didn't see who beat them up, so we didn't actually get the conclusion to the Fashion Files. So, in my mind, that upsets me because that's just false advertising. That's straight up lying. You're like, hey, tune in this Sunday to see the conclusion of this segment, a segment that you have control over. It's not like they actually discovered evidence to the case and then all of a sudden there was a real plot twist, like new evidence was found or a new suspect came into play. It's not like a real case. It's something that WWE controls and determines. I don't understand why you would advertise this is the conclusion if your plan was to not have it be the conclusion. In my mind, that is just false advertising. And the fact that it didn't conclude here at Battleground tells me that they have no idea who was behind the Fashion File or the Fashion Police attacking. They have absolutely no idea, and that is literally the only reason I could think about, again, other than to just hopefully improve ratings for Tuesday. That's the only reason I could think of for why they would advertise the conclusion and then not give us the conclusion. Then we had a rematch from Tuesday's SmackDown with Mike Kanellis versus Sami Zayn. I predicted Mike Kanellis to come out on top. He did not. Sami Zayn got the win. I'm a little frustrated because I'm a big Mike Bennett or Mike Kanellis fan, mainly because he's from Massachusetts, but also just because of his in-ring ability and what he's done in New Japan and TNA and whatnot. I really like his work. In his 2 matches on SmackDown and on Battleground, I think he's done all of 4 moves. And one of those moves is kissing his wife. So it's just a letdown. It's just a letdown. It's the only way I can put Mike Bennett's debut, or first 2 debut matches. This match was better than the SmackDown match, because the SmackDown match was only 2 minutes. But this match, again, you had a very similar finish. Maria gets into the ring, causes a distraction. Why that's not a countout or a disqualification or something, why that's just allowed, is beyond me. But I guess they had Sami win so they can keep this feud going, because if they don't keep this feud going, then they've just buried their newest SmackDown superstar. Then we had the Punjabi prison match for the WWE Championship, Randy Orton versus Jinder Mahal. And without a doubt, guys, this was the best Punjabi prison match we have ever had. No doubt in my mind. Best one yet. I mean, we've only had 3, but this one was definitely the best one. But in all seriousness, this match I thought really was great. I thought it was a little boring up until all the 4 doors closed. Once the 4 doors closed in that first cage, that's when things started to really pick up. And I was a little disappointed with how they decided to do the closing of the 4 doors, because it was just very predictable, and I'm pretty sure it's how they did it in the other matches too. It's like, they call for the first 3 doors. No one's able to escape in time. Then one person escapes out of the 4th door, causing the second person to have to climb out of the cage. It's like, it would have been nice if they had done something a little bit more creative, like maybe both people escape out of the door and then they get thrown back in before it closes. You know, just something different, something unique, something that's not just super predictable. It's like an Iron Man match. It's like, the first however many falls don't count until you get down to the last 5 minutes of the match. But like I said, once the first 4 doors once the 4 doors in the first cage closed, everything about this match picked up. The back and forth was great. The interference by the Singh brothers was great. And in my opinion, actually, the Singh brothers are the MVP of this feud. They literally just add another layer, another dynamic that otherwise this feud would probably be a little bit stale. Not to say that it isn't stale already, but it would be more stale without the Singh brothers. And Samir's fall onto the announce table, my God, I think that will be one of those classic moments that you see replayed on highlight reels and top 10 lists. Like when people are like, oh, here are the top 10 falls off a cage, or here are the worst 10 falls ever in WWE history. Like, that fall will literally be in that count. That is how memorable I think this fall is. It was fantastic. I actually think this might have been the best match of the night. This was my favorite match of the night, but I don't necessarily know if it was the best. And the Great KHALI coming back to help Jinder, just completely out in left field, caught me off guard. I loved it when it happened. I was marking out. It was great. I think it adds to the Jinder persona, because now I don't know if the Great KHALI is back and going to be body and muscle for him, but it's like, you know, you really do have all of India supporting Jinder. I really felt like that backed that narrative that WWE is trying to push. So, in my opinion, overall, just a great match. A great match. Now, overall, I thought the pay-per-view was just okay. It had a good start and a good end, but everything in that middle, in my opinion, was not so good. And I think, too, overall, I think Great Balls of Fire was probably a better pay-per-view, but neither one of those pay-per-views hold a candle to the G1. Everything that I've seen in the G1, far superior. I don't want to stay on it. Battleground, let's focus on that. It was an okay pay-per-view. Not their best, not their worst. Definitely probably their second best in this 2017 pay-per-view season, or, you know, everything after this most recent WrestleMania. And I think it does put us in an interesting place leading up to SummerSlam. There's definitely a lot of directions things can go in, so we'll see what happens on Tuesday. But I really want to hear from you guys, so let me know in the comments down below what you thought of Battleground. What was your favorite match, your least favorite match? What didn't you like? What did you like? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. And that will unfortunately bring us to the end of today's video. So if you enjoyed it and you want to see more videos like this, then make sure to click on that subscribe button. But other than that, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and take care.